Howdy y'all, I'm Wayne from Dallas, Texas, and I react to all things UK. You'll have to pardon my appearance today. I just got off work and, well, it's been pretty rough trying to keep up, but I'm having a great time reacting to these videos, so I just had to sit down today right after work and react a little bit. So today I'm going to be reacting to a video called The Top 10 Things to Do in Northumberland. And this is by a channel called Alex Travels, which I've really been enjoying. So this will be my first video reaction to Northumberland, and I'm really excited to see what it's about. So let's dive right in.
Welcome. You can probably guess where I am by what you can see behind me, but this is my top 10 things to do in Northumberland. Enjoy.
I think that's in Newcastle, where he was standing.
So yes, Northumberland, home to more castles than any other county in the world. It's the least populated county in England, and it's home to some of the most immense, rugged, wild landscapes that I've ever seen. All of these things make Northumberland the perfect place to explore around. So make sure you subscribe if you enjoy the video, and let's begin the list. So firstly we have Bamburgh Castle. Obviously there's a few castles on this list, with the
Okay, so most castles least populous, I think that's what he said. So this is, he's starting right off with a castle, so so far.
In so many in Northumberland, but this one is pretty breathtaking. So activity in this area actually dates all the way back to the year 547, but obviously back then Bamburgh Castle would have just been a wooden structure, none of which would remain today, mainly because in the year 993 the castle was completely ransacked and destroyed by the Vikings, and every building subsequently burned to the ground. From the ramparts you can see some amazing views. These islands that you can see here are actually the Farne Islands, and off in the distance here you can see the famous holy island of Lindisfarne, which I'll be talking about much more later on in the video, so stay tuned. And this castle is home to not one but actually two different museums. One of the museums is full of archaeological findings that were found in this area, including a lot of Anglo-Saxon artifacts, and the other museum is actually a museum of aviation, which you may think is a little bit of a random museum to have in a castle, but actually no, because in the year 1894 this castle was purchased and renovated by the famous scientist and inventor William Armstrong. So there is another side of history entirely about this castle that you can learn about on your visit, and so that sums up number one on my list, and on to number two, which is another castle. And it is actually in very close proximity to Bamburgh Castle. It's located only 9 miles south down the Northumberland coast. But this castle was much less fortunate, as it is completely left in ruins today, and some of the walls have fallen over the massive coastal cliffs due to erosion over the years. One thing to note if you want to visit this castle is that there is a 1 mile walk from the town of Cragside that you have to do to get to this castle, as there is absolutely no parking nearby. But this walk honestly is awesome. It's walking right along the coast, and you have an epic view of probably the most impressive part of the castle as you approach. It's a well, Ellie.
It's a well.
Well. Next up on the list we have one of my favourites, and definitely a really big highlight of Northumberland, which is the holy island of Lindisfarne. It's also known as the Holy Island, and it is known as this because it was actually one of the most important sites for early English Christianity. The island is actually only accessible at certain times of the day because the causeway to access the island becomes submerged at high tide. So you need to plan your visit accordingly. But there is just so much to do on this island. It's definitely worth a visit, and it's absolutely gorgeous. So the first thing that I would mention to see on the island, and the very last castle on the list, I promise you, is Lindisfarne Castle. So I can't comment too much on the interiors of the castle because we went to Lindisfarne in the evening to catch an epic sunset there, and also to wait for the tide to go back down so we could actually get to the island. So the castle was closed when we went to Lindisfarne, but if you do visit Lindisfarne in the day, it definitely looked worth a visit, and from the outside, it looks epic. But here are the things that we actually did do on Lindisfarne. So first of all, we walked through the extremely picturesque town to these really unique sheds made from upturned boat hulls that are definitely worth a look. And from here, you can walk around this small section of the coast and see so many things. This ruined hut was an amazing viewpoint of Lindisfarne Castle before heading up to the Holy Island War Memorial. And from the War Memorial, you can see a really great view down into Lindisfarne Priory, which again was closed when we got there, but if you visit in the day, you can visit that as well. But from here, if you carry on walking around the coastline, you get to my personal highlight of Lindisfarne, which is St Cuthbert's Island, which is actually an absolutely tiny island just off the coast of Lindisfarne Island. So this island is only accessible at low tide, and it's the location where St Cuthbert used to come to pray, as basically he could walk out to the island at low tide, and then as the tide rose, his small island would get cut off from Lindisfarne, and no one could reach him or disturb him until the next low tide. Which, to be honest, I've never sympathised with anything quite as much as this. It's just a really great story. And to be honest, this island was just so serene and peaceful, especially in the evening. We even actually had the pleasure of seeing hundreds of seals swimming back out to sea with the tide, which was just an amazing view and a great end to a great day on Lindisfarne. So now on to my next point, and for this point we have the breathtaking Hadrian's Wall. Hadrian's Wall. So this wall stretches for 73 miles across the entire breadth of England and dates all the way back to the year 122 AD. It was built by the Roman Emperor Hadrian to cut off the organised Roman kingdom from the savages that lived up in the north. Actually the real life inspiration for the wall to the north from Game of Thrones. Fun fact. So now, as this wall spans 73 miles, obviously there is so many hiking routes to choose from. We hiked a specific 3-mile section of the wall, which I would recommend to anyone, as it's just got some of the most crazy landscapes and some really incredible Roman ruins here as well. So we started at the Steel Rig car park and hiked to Housestead's Roman Fort, which is the most famous and well-preserved Roman fort on Hadrian's Wall. And you can see some of the oldest toilets that you've probably ever seen there, so that's a win-win. And on the way to the fort, you also go via the most photographed tree in England that you can see here, and some of the most dramatic and uninhabited landscapes I have ever seen in England. I actually have a full video on the history of Hadrian's Wall coming up very soon, within the next couple of weeks, so I'll link it up here and down in the description if you're interested in that and want to learn more about Hadrian's Wall, but definitely something that I would recommend if you're visiting Northumberland. So now on to another one of my...
Okay, I'm going to stop there for a minute. Why is that tree so photographed? Does anybody know? He didn't say. What kind of tree was that? So already just a beautiful, beautiful area. Super interested in this area. I love to hike. A 3-mile hike along Hadrian's Wall. That's nothing. I could walk a lot further than that. I would love to roam across this whole area. It looks so gorgeous. I've always been a big fan of history. I'd love to see Hadrian's Wall, but also those overturned boats. That looked really interesting. A couple islands he mentioned, and then several castles. I mean, all of this is just, exactly what I'm interested in. And the folks that I've spoke with or chatted with in the comments, so friendly. It's just been really nice to chat with you folks that live in this area. And I'm really interested in coming and visiting there. But let's keep going to the next one.
Personal favourites from Northumberland, which is Cragside. Possibly one of the slightly more lesser-known things to do in Northumberland, but me and Ellie visited this on the evening of our last day, and we instantly booked tickets again to go again on the next day before we drove home, because we just didn't realise how big it was and just how much there is to see and just how great it looked, and we wanted to explore more. So I think that's a pretty great review for this place. But yeah, it was basically pretty much a hiker's paradise. So Cragside is a Victorian country house that was built and owned by William Armstrong, which is the very same William Armstrong that renovated Bamburgh Castle that I mentioned earlier. So Armstrong was an inventor, so therefore this was the first house in the world to be powered by hydroelectricity. But this is just so much more than just the house, due to the 1,000 acres of picture-perfect, right out of a fantasy film grounds that you can hike all over to your heart's content.
Gorgeous.
There is a 6-mile road around all of the grounds with car parks dotted throughout. So what you can do, you can drive to a specific section, park up, hike around that bit from there, and then drive on to the next bit and do more hiking, and it's just endless. Also, when we went, it was absolutely covered in rhododendrons, which just made everything so colourful. And also, the tallest Scots pine in Britain is here, measuring at 113 feet tall. And yeah, so it's just so gorgeous here. It was mind-blowing. I couldn't get over it, and I'd really want to go back even again now after being home for a few weeks. So definitely worth a visit.
Gorgeous.
And on to my next point. So finishing off the video, I've got 3 more locations left, and the first of which is Alnwick. I'd say the most famous attraction here is Alnwick Castle, probably due to its many uses throughout the Harry Potter films as Hogwarts. But the town of Alnwick itself is great. It is the county town of Northumberland, and it's also home to possibly one of the best bookshops I've ever been in. It's called Barter Books, and it's a second-hand bookshop, and the building is located in the old Victorian railway station of Alnwick. There's just so many books to choose from, and it's just such a scenic place, a really great place to explore and see what you find there. Okay. So yes, the town of Alnwick, just a really great place to stop off at, spend a few hours there and just explore the town. And next up, although technically not located actually in Northumberland, I did want to bring up the city of Newcastle. Because this is where we stayed when we were exploring and driving out to different bits of Northumberland. And it's just a really great city in itself. Some really interesting architecture here. And I hear it has a great nightlife as well. It's a really great place to explore around. And then Newcastle is also located right next to my final point of the video, ending the video where the video started. And that is the Angel of the North. So this iconic sculpture was built in 1998 and it's now listed as an icon of England. And to be honest, you'll probably see it anyway if you're driving up to Northumberland from the south, because it is located right next to and overlooking the A1. But especially at the sunset, this is just a pretty special sight. And so yeah, that sums up my video. I enjoyed Northumberland so much, and I feel like there was so many things to do here that I probably definitely missed a few off the list. And if you're from Northumberland or you feel like I missed anything off the list, feel free to let me know in the comments, because I need to go back at some point and see what else I can find, because as I say, it was awesome. So yes, stay tuned for my Hadrian's Wall video coming up next. Subscribe if you enjoyed this one, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.
Okay then. Alright, I'm getting to know this area. I have reacted to one video so far on Newcastle. You can check this out here, this video, find that on my channel. Now, really fell in love with just that short video on Newcastle, and that led me to want to explore the region a little more here. I'm going to be doing some reaction to a few more cities in this area, maybe another one to Newcastle that gets a little more in depth. The folks I've chatted with from there, super friendly it seems like, very welcoming. I think I also need to react to maybe your accent in the area, the Geordies. I'd like to learn more about that for sure. And that was just a really great video. Such a beautiful, beautiful area. And seeing as I love to hike, I love to cycle, I feel like this is a good area for me to visit and explore. Other things that I've noticed in the comment is several people talking about their football teams in the area. So, I might delve into that a little bit as well. And one thing that I keep hearing is that there's a pretty good nightlife there in Newcastle. And, I'd like to get into that too. So the area with Hadrian's Wall, all those castles, all the great hiking, I'm very interested in this area, so I'm going to do some more reactions to that, so stay tuned. Please, if you get a minute, just like and subscribe. It helps the channel out so much. And if you're new here, you can find this video on my channel that kind of tells my story and what I'm doing here on YouTube and why I love the UK. And you can find out a little bit more about me, so I appreciate that. And like I say, hit that like and subscribe button. It helps me so much. And until next time, y'all take care.